What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Attack on Cowboys, and we have some interesting news coming out of the NFL Combine as the Cowboys are nearing a deal with one of their big fish free agents for this upcoming offseason. Let's get right into the news, and we'll take a look at some of the comparisons to kind of see exactly what type of production the Cowboys should be expecting from this particular player. Be sure to subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content on the regular, and let's jump right into it. All right, you can see here, the cat's out the bag. Y'all probably knew by the time you clicked on this video, Osa Odighizuwa is nearing a contract with the Cowboys as reported by a Mike Fisher. Now, this article by Mike Fisher reads as such: NFL free agency's legal tampering period doesn't open until March 10th, and the signing of players can't happen until the official start of NFL business year on March 12th. But there is a home team and as it relates to Osa Odighizuwa and the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry and Stephen Jones are wisely trying to take advantage of that. Teams can negotiate and sign their own free agents right now. And right in line with Steven vowing to help Dallas be selectively aggressive in spending on roster building in 2025, a source close to the situation tells CowboysCountry.com that there is so much quote-unquote progress in the club's negotiation with Osa that they are very close to a done deal. The source adds that the new contract is expected to come in at more than $21 million per year. Odighizuwa has not missed a game in the last 3 seasons, becoming a big-time asset at the center of the Cowboys' defensive front. Playing alongside the likes of DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, he has developed into somewhat of a secondary star in Dallas. And I think I have to actually agree with that assertion. Osa Odighizuwa finished the season with career highs in total tackles with 47 and sacks with 4.5, remaining effective even when some bigger names, including Parsons, missed time with injury. The Cowboys will need to reel in some pieces in free agency while working out an extension for Parsons. Many think this combination of moving pieces could spell the end of Odighizuwa's tenure at the Star, but indications now lean the other way. Steven recently acknowledged, quote, "We have had negotiations with Osa. I just think Osa is a really good football player. He's an important piece. That was a start. Quote-unquote progress has also happened, and quote-unquote very close to a done deal is now here. Is Osa important enough to get a top-of-the-market deal? Cowboys fans might be shocked if that happens, but for now, there is some level of optimism here inside the Star. A deal in the coming hours for Odighizuwa will signal a Cowboys shift from their previously passive attitude and will be a fine start to a key offseason." Now, I actually have to agree with old Fishy Boy right here. The reason I say that is because if the Cowboys were to get a deal done with Osa Odighizuwa before March even rolls around, I think that would show you that they are moving with a little bit more pep in their step, a little bit more of a sense of urgency. They're not being extremely arrogant and just going with, oh, if he wants to be a Cowboy, he'll come back, and they're not going to gamble. They're not going to roll the dice here with a very, very important piece to the team that if you lose, you would have to replace him before you start fixing the actual holes that existed on this team that kept them from winning. And Osa Odighizuwa, regardless of what you guys think, Osa Odighizuwa has been balling. And as far as the contract numbers, let's go ahead and take a look at the contract numbers to kind of get an idea of the range or the type of guys that Osa Odighizuwa will be expected to perform close to based off of his contract. Now, give or take $2 to $3 million on these contracts, because obviously if a guy signed his deal 3 years ago and he's at a certain number, then the cap is going up a little bit and defensive tackles are going to make a little bit more just based on market. All right, so give or take about $3 or $4 million on these contracts. So if we're looking at a $21 million deal for an Osa Odighizuwa, essentially where that's putting him, it's putting him in the range of a Jonathan Allen, a Vita Vea, a Christian Barmore, Javon Hargrave from the 49ers. It's putting him in the range of those type of guys, and they're going to be expecting him to produce similar to those type of guys. Now, I just did one on probably who's the oldest of this crop of players, and a guy that's playing for one of our direct competition, which is the San Francisco 49ers. And I did Javon Hargrave's 2023 because he didn't really play a lot in 2024, so it wasn't fair to compare those. And Osa Odighizuwa's 2024. And while the numbers aren't extremely far away, Javon Hargrave was still a more productive player than an Osa Odighizuwa in his age 30 season than Osa was last season. So is there some meat left on the bone? Is there actual legit reason for some fans to have some consternation about the Cowboys making this move? Yeah, I mean, you can honestly make the argument that Osa hasn't, quote-unquote, earned this type of contract. But I think you'll be making that argument based off of not really understanding how the market works and how inflation with the salary cap works, especially in seasons where the salary cap just went up another $26 million, essentially up to a potential $280-something million salary cap. And that's up from like 254 last season, right? So with that being said, you can't look at a direct comparison, especially if a guy did sign their contract a couple seasons back, like I said, but you can't expect Osa. They're looking at him as a defensive tackle, especially a 3-tech, a guy that's charged with getting upfield. You are going to look at their sack numbers a little bit more than you look at like a 1-tech or something like that. They're looking at Osa to have this type of production. They're looking at Osa to have the type of an impact that a DeForest Buckner or Jonathan Allen type of guy would give you, as they play kind of like a similar role on that defensive line as far as playing that 3 technique and getting after the quarterback. Because DeForest Buckner, for example, he played 12 games last season and had 6.5 sacks. So is he way more productive than an Osa Odighizuwa? Yeah, if you're looking at it by that standards, but Osa was the healthier guy. Jonathan Allen also had 3 sacks in just 8 games played last season. So just giving you an idea of how productive some of the other guys that are making a similar amount as an Osa would, with this kind of contract over $21 million. You can kind of see DeForest Buckner is making $23 million per season, and then we're looking at Jonathan Allen making $18 million. So you're looking somewhere in between that range production-wise. So yes, Osa Odighizuwa would need an uptick in production to make this contract palatable for fans who are hyper aware of the salary cap and how much guys are making and pocket watching, essentially. Pocket watching. The pocket watching ass fans. Osa is going to have to step it up a little bit to satiate those guys and make them not be calling for his head and using him as a reason why the Cowboys can't do X, Y, and Z, even though, again, that responsibility falls squarely on the shoulders of the front office. If you guys are mad about players making a certain amount of money, whether that be Osa Odighizuwa or the $40 million contract Michael's probably about to get, or a Dak Prescott, if you guys are mad about these players making a certain amount of money, direct that anger towards the front office, who doesn't seem to be able to do a good job of actually manipulating these contracts so they can do something similar to what an Eagles or some of these other teams in the league are doing, that are utilizing their salary cap in a way that's not keeping them from being competitive, regardless if it's a trade or free agency or whatever it is. That's not the player's fault. Don't get mad at Osa and his agent because they established their value a little bit higher than what you think it should have been. That is not our concern. That is the concern of the front office. So to Osa Odighizuwa, congratulations. If you are getting this $21 million contract, much love to you, my brother. You deserve every penny if you're able to negotiate it. And that's just how I feel about that. I'm not going to be in the business of getting mad at players for getting paid more than they quote unquote should. But I am going to say this. Osa, you are going to be expected to step up because the Cowboys are essentially making you a secondary star on the team. So you won't be able to disappear. You are going to be relied on to be that consistent help for Micah Parsons, to free him up from some of those double teams that people love to talk about. You are going to be relied on to show up consistently in the big games and in the games that don't mean that much. You are going to be relied on to help us change the tides of our luck in the playoffs, because we can see our quarterback is not able to do it on his own. And no quarterback is able to do it on their own. So you are going to be relied upon. So with this contract comes great responsibility. And I think a guy like Osa Odighizuwa is up to the challenge. But either way, that's the news on Osa Odighizuwa's upcoming contract with the Dallas Cowboys. And let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. How about them Cowboys?
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Hey! I'm still them boys.